Tonight, as Donald Trump builds his case for sending even more troops into the streets of the nation's capital, he wants you to believe the crime data coming from D.C. police is fake.
You're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Or not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud. And the numbers are worse than they ever are. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. And the whole statistical charts that they made, the whole thing is a rigged deal.
As CNN has reported, violent crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low, but these facts don't fit the narrative Trump is trying to sell, that the district is a hellscape. So his solution is to pull from the pages of a familiar playbook by waging a war on the numbers. It's something that he has a very, very long history of doing.
We're doing so well. I believe the numbers were phony.
I want to address the fake job numbers on top of everything else, fellas. Fake jobs. We've never had numbers like this. They don't exist.
Don't believe those phony numbers when you hear 4.9 and 5% unemployment.
The unemployment number, as you know, is totally fiction. The numbers they put out are phony as far as I'm concerned. Kamala's crime statistics are really as fake, essentially, as those job numbers. You're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Or not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud.
Remember the polls, the fake polls?
I think it's a fake poll, because why would they like me?
The news and the polls are really fake.
I have the real polls. People don't want anything to do with impeachment. You know, polls are fake just like everything else.
The press never even talked about it.
Because they're fake.
I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size.
We're not buying the CBO's estimates.
I think the 3.4% is really a false number. Personally, I would say the number is way under.
We had a great election in 2020. We won the election by a lot.
If you think Biden got 80 million votes, I don't believe it. This was a corrupt election. The number of ballots doesn't mean anything.
Is there any number that Donald Trump believes?
Well, the war on truth is not a bug, but a feature of authoritarianism. You know, it reminds me, in June of 2023, China's National Bureau of Statistics reported a youth unemployment rate of 21%. And Xi Jinping, who's the dictator of China, was so furious with the job numbers that he ordered the Bureau to stop publishing the numbers, to stop telling the truth. Donald Trump is playing the same game of censorship here in the United States. He's withholding the truth. What I find interesting is back in April, he was praising the BLS for producing great job numbers, and now he's condemning it when there's an inconvenient truth that flatly contradicts his narrative.
Similarly, with the crime numbers, he was praising the drop in crime a few months ago. Now he's saying that you don't want to believe the numbers. I mean, Jillian, at what point does this become just, I don't know, a trope to discount facts?
Okay, well, the numbers were inaccurate. I mean,
which ones?
All right, so let's.
No, I'm just asking which ones you're.
All right,
talking
so I could do both. Actually, do we want to do DC or do we want to do the BLS? Pick it.
BLS, how is it inaccurate?
Okay, well.
Was it inaccurate back in April when Trump praised it?
They had to, yeah. But it's typically inaccurate, up to about 40 to 50,000.
Preliminary estimates, so they're revised.
Right, exactly, and what's
but that's
normal.
Not manipulation.
But hold on.
All right,
what's normal
go ahead.
Is that there are roughly 40 to 50,000 jobs off. This is triple that, and it was similarly mistaken, gotten wrong during the Biden administration. So, for example, the miscalculations that are typical are 500,000 in a year. The miscalculations over 2024 were 1.2 million.
Do you believe there was manipulation?
No, I don't believe there was manipulation. Here's what I think. I think the person in charge got it really wrong. I think the BLS is broken.
So you disagree with Trump's accusation that there was manipulation?
I don't think there was manipulation.
He explicitly said there was manipulation, okay, so I'm happy you're rejecting that accusation.
What I think is that the numbers are very far off, more far off than what's typically common or acceptable, and these numbers matter. Obviously, it's how the Fed determines what the interest rate should be.
The methodology that produced the numbers that Trump praised back in April is the same methodology that produced the numbers he's now condemning.
Why wouldn't Trump love that the numbers were high and then quietly brought down? Like, why wouldn't he love that? These numbers were also wrong during Biden. They were significant.
I know, but to his point, why would Trump praise the numbers just a few months ago and now call them fake?
Listen, if he's calling them fake, suggesting that they messed with the numbers. I don't think that's true. But I am telling you, clearly something's really wrong. Clearly changes need to be made.
Ellie?
Yeah, Donald Trump has no credibility on this issue. I mean, we just saw the supercut there. It's not like that difficult of a scientific formula. If it's bad for him, it's fake. If it's good for him, it's real. That's it. It can't. If only life was so great for all of us, right? If only every piece of bad news was BS, fake, made up, and every piece of good news was absolutely true and maybe embellished a bit. His history speaks for itself here. This is something he does, and I give him no credibility when he tries to dismiss these numbers.
I mean, the problem here is going to be that if you don't have faith in these numbers and you don't have faith in statistics that the government issues, whether it's the Fed numbers, which he's consistently denigrating now with respect to inflation, whether it's with respect to job numbers, whether it's with respect to any numbers, crime statistics for that matter, we're not going to have faith in government, which I guess is the whole point, right? If you're out to destroy government and make yourself the arbiter of the truth and the only arbiter of the truth, and if you think that everything else is some conspiracy by the deep state, what's going to end up happening is that we're not going to have a functioning democracy anymore. We're going to have a propagandist who's essentially saying that the numbers that he wants to be out there are the numbers that we all have to believe, and everything else we don't have to believe our own lying eyes, and that's a problem.
The other aspect of this is, there's Trump's rhetoric, which of course is what we just played, but now he's in a position to actually appoint people who give him the numbers that he does want. I think that's kind of where the rubber meets the road for the country right now. It was on the 2020 election. He only wanted people around him who would continue to lie to him about whether he won or lost. When it comes to the job numbers, when it comes to crime statistics, he wants to put people in there that double down on his beliefs. And so at what point, Scott, does that make everything suspect that Trump touches?
As it relates to the BLS, by definition, he's right. The numbers we do get every month are fake because the methodology is so warped that they get changed later.
That's exactly which set of numbers do you have faith in?
Because they get changed
the numbers
later.
that are hundreds of
So
thousands,
today's
the numbers that are
numbers,
19,000.
I don't remember you saying that back in April.
That is a crazy thing to say.
Every month they get changed.
You did not say that back in April when
That
Trump was praising these numbers.
That is an insane thing to say because you
do
worked
the numbers change or
Scott,
not?
you worked in
It's a preliminary estimate that's revised.
It's
a revision.
The Bush administration.
Three times larger.
Hold on a second, Jillian. Scott, you worked in the Bush administration. The numbers that the BLS put out, which get revised every single month in the Bush administration, were those fake?
Well, I think the methodology back then worked better. I think it doesn't work very well now. And so my point is this: whether you agree with the word fake or not, they're not accurate.
You just made the claim that the fact that the numbers get revised mean that they're fake. Were they fake when you worked in the government?
Back in those days, I don't think the revisions were as substantial. Today, they're quite substantial.
There have always been revisions.
I don't think they were as substantial as they
are
now.
There have always been revisions.
I don't think they're as substantial as they are now.
The revisions vary. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're large.
Are you okay with the level of revisions?
Guess what?
They're
the public
pretty
data,
off.
when you actually look at the public data, the revisions in the public data are actually way smaller than the revisions in the private data. So even though the Bureau of Labor Statistics transparently goes back and says, we have more information, here's what we know, you're making a political claim, and I know why you're doing it, but it's also one that I think is incredibly but it's very corrosive, I think, to the idea of whether or not there's anything real in the world, right? Just because there are corrections doesn't mean that it's fake.
We're not in disagreement.
We are in disagreement. You just called it all fake.
I'm saying that every month, this agency gives you a number, and you can bet that the number is wrong.
And you said that because
which by definition makes it fake.
Now, it is an estimate. It's not fake.
So my point,
Scott,
just as it was last night, is this. The goal of this agency and the next administrator and of this administration ought to be to update and modernize the methodology so that the numbers we get each month are far more accurate.
So when they update the methodology and they continue to revise them because they have more information, which will happen, you're going to continue to call those numbers fake.
What exactly is the issue with the methodology?
Well, there is a belief that they're not able to do as much or as accurate data collection from private sector companies right now. They're not getting the response rates. Therefore, they're
that
not
was an
able to
issue
make
back
estimates.
in April, and I don't remember these objections back in April when Trump was praising these numbers.
Of course, when he gets the numbers and they look good, it's going to look good to him. But it's probably highly agitating to find out later that you were handed fake numbers.
If there were a vast, if the
Scott,
BLS,
I think it's listen. It's
if the Bureau of Labor,
silly to continue. I get the politics of it, but it is silly to continue to
It's not
call
political.
things that you don't like fake.
It's not that
And
I like it or don't like it. I just
your-
want it to be
your
more
name
accurate.
Your name is not Donald Trump.
I just want it to be accurate.
But
Do
you have
not
the
want
ability
accurate data?
you have the ability to approach this in a way that is not needlessly inflammatory. It
Yeah,
is
so do
not.
you.
It is not fake. Okay,
Abby,
it is not fake.
Abby,
Are the
which
numbers that you're
fake? The
are the
first
numbers that
ones
you're
or the second
presidents
set
get
of
bad job
numbers?
numbers, when presidents get bad job numbers, like Barack Obama did, when they get bad inflation numbers, like Joe Biden did,
The numbers-
they easily could have called it fake because they don't like the numbers. But it's a choice to do that.
Do you realize
and
that
it's a choice to say that revisions mean something that is
I don't
fake.
know why we're having a combative conversation. My point is the numbers we get at this moment in time seem to be less accurate than ever.
Yes.
If the government
have
updates
roughly
and does a better
300%.
job of
Again,
methodology and
Donald
data
Trump-
collection, then they'll be more
What I would say,
accurate.
Scott,
What
is
is
that
wrong with that?
I appreciate your revision of your comments.
I
Because
literally
what you
just said the same
because
thing.
what you just said is a fair thing to say. It
It's
is
been
a
my point for 2
rational,
nights in a row.
reasonable thing to say, and you did not use the word faked in that last part that you just said. So I just want to note that is a revision, and I appreciate you doing
Let's
it.
be clear.
Thank you, Scott Jennings. Coming up next for us, all caps post and name calling. Look who's talking tough now. Well, the Democrats are taking on a new tone. We'll talk about it next.